A year after we publish our budget. I want to introduce the folks around the room here. I'm Robert P., current chairman of Budget and Finance. Commissioner Trey Gooch is our vice chairman. Also Commissioner Paul Johnson, Commissioner Robert Stevens, Commissioner Steve Piercy. I don't see Miss Allen. She's probably held up in that Smyrna traffic coming this way. And Commissioner Phil Dodd are members of our committee. We also have with us Commissioner Pettis Reed, Commissioner Jeff Phillips, and Commissioner Chanto Sereno. Welcome all of y'all. Just to do a quick recap, this is the 2022-2023 Rutherford County Consolidated Appropriation Budget. The way this comes about is the county mayor, Bill Ketron, has provided recommendations for the general fund, the solid waste sanitation fund, the ambulance service fund, the special purpose fund, the drug fund, and the industrial development fund. The appropriations for the funds make up 21.8% of the total appropriations of the consolidated budget. The budgets are submitted from other county boards, and we'll cover those. The debt service fund comes from the Budget and Finance Committee. That makes up 7.6%. The highway fund is made up of 1.6% and is forwarded from the road board and the superintendent. The general purpose school fund, of course, comes from the school board. It makes up the lion's share of our appropriations at 63.2%. And part of that also is the cafeteria fund, which also comes from the school board, 3.5%. And the educational capital projects fund, also from the school board, 2.4%. We also, from the consolidated appropriations budget, Budget and Finance has reviewed and made additional changes and made their recommendations to the public. All meetings that we've had have been televised on Channel 19, having to do with our budget. Details of all budgets on the Budget and Finance can be found on the Budget and Finances page. That's www.rutherfordcountytn.gov. It's also published in the newspaper, and it's being presented to you tonight, and after which we'll accept public comments. This time I'm going to turn proceedings over to our Finance Director, Lisa Nolan, and by the way, I want to introduce Mark. He's our Assistant Finance Director, and they're on the end. Lisa?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've heard a lot about the assessments this year, and people have got their notice from the assessor. Thought I try to keep this to you every time, and I just thought it was giving you a little history tonight for you, the commissioners, to take with you to see what our growth in the county has been. With the additions and the everything else, our growth and assessed value is at 40.8%. I have this back to 93. So we talk about the certified tax rate, where in the 2021 our tax rate was $2.2194. The certified tax rate that came in was $1.6162 when we published in the paper. Now I've got a transition here, but the published rate was $1.6178. So between what was published in the paper and what we have today with the official certified rate of 1.6162, this schedule right here just demonstrates how we began the budget process on allocating the property tax rate. And as you see, we begin with allocating the new rate in the same proportion ratio as we did the previous one. So we talk about the tax rate, 1.6162, a little bit more history. This is the lowest that I have, but my records, I go back to 1996. So I thought it was pretty interesting. In 1997, our tax rate was $3.37. Now, with the recommendation of Budget and Finance Committee to make this budget work and hit our policies, the recommendation is to move 5 cents from debt service to the county general, and to move, to help accomplish some goals of the schools, is to move 7 cents out of education to move it into the education capital projects. The assessments and this rate will produce $242,313,906 in the levy. After reserve for delinquency, we're budgeting $231,409,780. Of that, the estimate to the city of Murfreesboro for their schools is $14,629,309. That's the equivalent of a little more than 10 cents on this tax rate is for city schools. This is just a picture of the rate. From what you can see here, just like the lion's share of the of the appropriations to schools, the lion's share of property taxes for schools too. Debt service, about 70-some% of this is for schools too. So we talk about the penny. We talk about penny. What's a penny worth for a county general penny? It's $1,431,814. Last year, the 2021 penny was the first time that we broke $1 million. It's a 43% increase in that penny value. Schools, because of the difference in the weighted full-time equivalent with City of Murfreesboro, theirs went from $856,269 to $1,220,621. So the rest of the money, where does it come from to help fund our budget? As you can see here, a lot of it comes from 30.4% from the current property tax, 40% is lion's share of the revenue coming in outside is from the state of Tennessee, and that is primarily coming to schools through the BEP. So this is a little bit more detailed for you. It's interesting, the local sales tax combined is 14%. This is the local share of the sales tax. So where does it go? Again, this is by, and Commissioner P went through these, and it's an overview of the percentage of the budget for the by fund. This picture shows you also, broke out the education debt. So of all the budget, 75, and it's just interesting as I update these schedules year after year, how these percentages don't change that much. Okay, so with the revenues, we're estimating total revenue off funds at $714,220,000 and appropriations of $778,177,000. So we are under our estimated revenues by nearly $64 million. That's a lot, but we start with the estimated beginning fund balance of our unassigned and assigned fund balance at $208.8 million. Using the $64 million, we're estimating our ending fund balance at $145,417,000. Now I'll quickly go over just some highlights, talking about the major operating funds, our general fund, our general purpose school fund, which for them, that's their general fund, the ambulance, road and bridge, and debt service. Speaking to those 5 funds makes up 93% of our appropriations. In the general fund, as you would expect, public safety remains our largest portion of appropriations at 59% of the total recommended appropriations. Now, when I'm doing the comparison, should go back. Whoa, where'd it go? It went away. All right, I'll just go back. I'm going to take out the effect of the COVID when I'm doing my comparisons. So it is a 11.9% increase over the amended budget, or almost a 15% increase over our original. The general fund has 97 additional full-time positions and 6 part-time. 60 of those positions are in public safety. There is an increase to the table of 13% for employees, and for the sheriff and corrections specific, it's at 18%. With our step table, employees should see very close to 15 or 20% increase in their salaries. So total salaries and benefits increases 20.5% from the original budget, or $16.6 million. So that makes up salaries, benefits for the new table, and new positions. So again, we're relying on $21 million. That's equivalent of a little less than 15 cents on the property tax. Schools. This is just a real summary of theirs. Of course, most of the school budget is in general purpose school fund. It's a 7.7% increase over the amended budget. It's 11.2% increase over the original budget. It's a 35.1% increase as far as dollar-wise over the amended, 49.7% over the original. In the school board budget, there's 182 growth positions and a 5% increase to their base table. Their total salaries and benefits, including all their new positions, increased by 8.4% or $30.9 million from the original budget. But the BEP has come in, estimate is better next year, so that's going to help support those additional appropriations that come in at an additional amount of $24.18 million. So the schools are relying on $28 million of their fund balance, and that is, again, equivalent of 23 cents on the property tax. But with this theory that what they're doing, and part of this, again, this is after they have moved 7 cents out to the school capital projects fund. But the anticipation is for the next fiscal year coming in with the new funding formula for schools. So the ambulance has a 20% increase in their appropriations from the amended budget. It adds 20 new paramedic positions and moves one position out of the ambulance fund into the general fund. This one also has 13% added to the base. They're going to be relying on their fund balance too, of almost 1 cent. Road and Bridge, this is our only fund that revenues are better than our appropriations. So the recommended budget for them is $12,333,000. Now looking at this, it is a decrease compared to their amended budget, but I just remind you of that they did the road project at the new school, and so that's what you're seeing in those last 2 years on that highway and bridge maintenance, how it's gone down. Okay, so there's no new positions in this budget. It remains at 73 total positions. There is an estimated 980 miles that our road board covers. Debt service fund is estimated next year at $58.9 million in appropriations. Most of it, again, is education. Also in this appropriation is an estimate for a debt service payment in next year for approximately $75 million for schools. So at the beginning of this fiscal year, our outstanding debt, this is principal balances of $496,400,000. We issued new debt this year at 27.1. We paid off almost $38.4 million. That brings our balance to $485 million at the end of this year. We are scheduled to retire 38.7 next year. Now, this schedule does not include the new debt, but again, we are anticipating a new debt issue next year. So that concludes the overview. Now, I will say that the public will be able to find our budget under the Budget and Finance tab under rutherfordcountytn.gov. Look for Budget and Finance, then look for the yellow arrows. I'll get you to the proposed budget by year, and you will find the detailed budget that we are speaking to tonight.
Okay.
You?
Just So we have our ground rules set out. When we open the public hearing, we'd like for you to come to the podium, which we've got set up. State your name and address for the public record. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Now, after everyone's had a chance to speak, someone would like to speak again, we might entertain that. But at this time, I want to open the public hearing. Anyone that would like to be heard, please come forward. I don't see a rush to the podium, which is usually the case when we announce that we're not having a increase in our taxes. Give it another moment or two. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. We have no one that has come forward tonight. Any of the committee members like to say anything? Don't hear anything. Now, we have 3 more meetings scheduled. Tomorrow night, we're to look at, to discuss the public hearing, and then June 22nd, we have on Wednesday at 5:30, recommend the tax levy and appropriations meeting, and then on the 27th, we have a full commission meeting again, which at that time we would adopt the budget. We do have a meeting tomorrow night, and I have told several people in the committee that I had anticipated going ahead and having that meeting tomorrow night. If y'all want to conduct some other business tonight and do away with the meeting tomorrow night, I'll entertain that discussion. That has to do with the new finance director position. And if we do go into that discussion tonight, what I'd like to do is go ahead and we'll continue recording, but we will not broadcast. But at this time, our regular business is open, and I'll open the floor for comments from our committee members. Okay, I don't hear any suggestions, so what we'll do, we'll adjourn this meeting, and we will come back the 15th at 5:30 to discuss the finance director's position. So we're adjourned. Thank you.